Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live session where we're going to do some more Microsoft integration today, talking about proactive alerting, prevention, all of that good stuff to enhance your current Microsoft shop. If you want to follow along, go ahead and download our free trial. You can get started in probably under 30 minutes, and we'd love to hear from you about how that goes. But let's go ahead and get started. Um, for those not familiar, I'm sure if you are running a Microsoft environment, you actually are very familiar with what this looks like. Let me enlarge it for you. Um, you recognize these MMC snap-ins and the event viewer probably all too well. But let's talk about how we can enhance this, like I said, and do some more proactive alerting and troubleshooting for Microsoft. DNS and DHCP, the native Microsoft services, they tend to work, right? They run pretty well once you get it all set up. As long as you don't have to make many changes, things tend to work until they don't, or again, until you have to make some of these changes. And when, things don't work, you're likely finding that out from the user that is using the device that's been affected, right? We call that reactive. If it's already affected your end user, you're already in a place you don't want to be, right? So what we're going to do today is look at a few ways where we can prevent these issues using Maestro to enhance your Microsoft environment. So this is very demo heavy. We're just going to spend, 5 or 10 minutes kind of taking you through the demo and showing you some of the things that you can do. Let me pull up some notes here. So we are in the management console, right? Um, our management console has just a few things that we don't yet have in the web UI, but this is all going to change very soon, wink wink, like very, very soon. But for now, let me just go ahead and show you the capabilities no matter where you end up doing this in the future. So first we'll go to maintenance. And if I just click on tools and I go to maintenance, here I can find things like orphan pointer records very easily. Just click start, and here are all my orphan pointer records, or pointer records that have no corresponding DNSA record, right? Really easily. And then I can go ahead and delete them right here if I so choose, right? Going back to tools and maintenance again, I can do a similar thing, find concurrent leases, right? So these are active DHCP leases, multiple active DHCP leases that are assigned to the same MAC address. And obviously that could be problematic. So if you found some, you could go ahead and release those right here as well. It's very easy. Okay. So now on the subject of, possible conflicts and prevention, let's go to our system settings. Now, there's a lot you can do under system settings. What I want to point out first is this determine address in use portion, right? This is how we can specify for our environment, right? Maestro is coming to you rather than you having to change your whole environment to work with Maestro, like you might have to do in using Microsoft DNS and DHCP native services. So we can tell, hey, if a DNS address record exists for the IP address, then let's consider that a conflict. Let's not use that IP address for this new device, right? But maybe in your environment that doesn't work, so you would go ahead and uncheck that. If a custom property is set for the IP address already, so we have custom properties built into Maestro, meaning like identification information. Maybe you have location selected, or a rack, or an owner. If any of that is filled out or populated for a certain IP address, maybe we consider that to be already in use, and we don't want to use that IP address again. If the IP address has been claimed, of course, then we probably don't want to use it again. And also, if the IP address has been seen on the network within the last one day I have here, maybe you specify a 2 or 3 or 7 days. What That's up to you, right? But you can kind of make it work for your environment. And this goes a long way, right? The saying is, right, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So if we can prevent those IP conflicts from happening, then we're in good shape. Just kind of taking you through the rest of system settings. These are all more configuration areas, right? What do I want my logging to look like? What do I want my error checking to look like and check for, right? So all sorts of information that we can put in here, DNS and IPAM. And then of course, if we want to do some sort of monitoring, where does that information go? How do I get notified? Am I going to use SNMP traps, or am I just going to get an email, right? We do that kind of configuration stuff right here in system settings. Um, Then to kind of see what these alerts are, once we've configured how we want this to go, we can jump right down here to the monitoring section of the management console, right? Red means, maybe things aren't great. Green means good. So if I take a deeper dive into that, let's jump into IPAM here. I can see which areas might be having problems, or may see some problems in the future, and I can go ahead and double click those, right? Really easily see what that looks like. Now, compared to my event viewer, this is a lot easier to look through. And of course, I've already configured it to give me the errors and do the logging that I want it to do for my environment in a way that makes sense for me, right? We can very easily cut out the noise by maybe not showing warnings, or maybe we want to see everything. And then we can immediately remediate based on what we're seeing here in the error checking. Um, let's talk more about this proactive mitigation, right? Let's talk about subnet monitoring. So over here, I see my IP addresses, and I want to click on one of these and set up subnet monitoring. Now, you've all seen something like this before. If I enable subnet monitoring, basically, there's some sort of trigger. If I meet the threshold, something gets triggered, and then a custom script will be run in order to automatically mitigate those issues, right? And I can specify whether I want this action performed once, or if I want it to be performed until there's no more issues, right? All sorts of ways that we can use subnet monitoring, but that is possible right here with Maestro, and obviously kind of a little bit harder to do in a native Microsoft service. Okay, so talking more about utilization and thresholds and things like that, let's jump on over to our web UI, which I have up here. Let me enlarge it a bit. Okay, so here's the Microsoft Web UI. What we'll be using going forward mostly, right? If I jump back into my IPAM tab, I can easily, if I put in my password, see all my networks, and I get immediate utilization information right here in the custom properties, right? These are the custom properties that I was talking about earlier. These are the things that can be populated. But I get utilization information right there. Now I don't have to kind of scroll through and see all of this. Obviously, when we talk about DHCP scopes, utilization becomes very important, because if we run out of IP addresses in our pools, that's going to be problematic, right? So I can just click easily on highly utilized scopes, and this shows me, oh, hey, 10.74.28 is really running low. I'm at 91% utilization. I might be seeing some performance issues even. Maybe I should do something to mitigate that, right? And then I can even click on that. I can see right over here on the right-hand side, do I have subnet monitoring enabled for this scope? Maybe, or for this range, I'm sorry. Maybe I should enable it for this range. Right. So all sorts of ways we can do that. We can actually segment this out a little bit further even. So that's nice for highly utilized ranges. But maybe I want to say, I want to see highly utilized ranges in my /24 segment, or I want to see highly utilized ranges owned by Lauren or owned by someone else, or in a certain location or geo, right? All sorts of ways that we can segment this out. And then we can easily create these dynamic folders, or these smart folders, using regex expressions, right? And we can do kind of multiple expressions, and use an and or an or statement right here, right? And make sure that we're getting all of the information in real time at our fingertips, so we don't have to like run reports, static reports, right, that aren't going to be true next week. All sorts of things, all sorts of ways that we can kind of make this work. And then we can even take an automated approach to go through the APIs against these kind of tags, and make sure that we are mitigating automatically or proactively if we so choose. Um, I can also see other contextual information. If I were to dive into one of these ranges and then pick an IP address, I can see related DNS data over here on the right-hand side. I can see, there's an A record and a CNAME record here for this particular IP address. But if I'm trying to troubleshoot, I want to know, what are the things that are related, and what all is happening with this particular object, right? Because we can do this for multiple objects, see related data. And then of course in here we can do various things if we want to edit directly, or we can reveal this object however we want to go about that. But we can easily see that related data, which obviously in a native environment, native Microsoft environment, that's much more difficult to do, right? Last but certainly not least, in the very beginning, I kind of presented, when you make a change to your network, that is often when you see things go wrong. And so back here in actually both the IPAM and DNS tabs, I have a recently created and a recently modified tab. Again, when something goes wrong in the network, it's probably because something's been changed. So I can easily see what was recently created or what was recently modified. I can do this again over in my DNS tab as well, recently modified. And then to make things even better, right? Instead of having to log into multiple servers, DNS servers, DHCP servers, maybe my domain controllers, and parsing through those logs, I can just go ahead and click on the meatball menu, click view history, and see the who, what, when, where, and why this change or this creation was made. And then I can go directly to the source, see what happened, maybe do some digging on my own right here. And it's much easier again than kind of in that native environment. Okay, that's all I have for you all today in our short demo. What I do want to do is tell you next week. Tune in to Tech Field Day hashtag TFD27 to follow along for more information. But we'll be giving a much deeper dive into Maestro, into how you can more easily manage your DDI, your entire DDI environment, whether you are in the public cloud or on premises. So we hope to see you there. And of course, you can always go to menandmice.com for more information on Maestro. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.